You're alive. I'm alive.
Yeah,
You're
we're
alive.
live. Hey guys, this is Jeff with eBay Addicts, and I got a brand new guest for you guys today. His YouTube channel was Las Vegas Thrifts. Stoney, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, actually. Doing really good. Can't complain.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the live stream with us and hanging out with us today. I'm pretty sure I don't know if you know who I am, but I've seen you a lot of times in the live stream chats. We've run into each other, and I think I said hi to you a couple times, but this is the first time that we've got to like sit down and talk face to face. So thanks for coming on today. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody in our audience who you are, obviously where you're from, and tell them what it is that you do.
So I am now a full-time reseller out here in Las Vegas. Um, what got me started with thrifting was just trying to make more money, and that's kind of always the thing when you're kind of in a predicament. So with that, I was just saw one thing, ran with it, and it ended up being more than what I expected. Something I probably enjoyed just as much as being an artist. I like creating characters and creating t-shirt designs, and it's like I ideal of like I could do this. And it took years to finally get to where I am now, to where I just got the permission slip signed from my wife to say, "Hey, do the damn thing." Because before it was a struggle at first saying, I don't know, I really don't believe in it. Even though I would show her and say, hey, reach this goal, I would reach it. And I would hold on to it and increase. And now she's like broke down, she cried. It's one of those things like she's old school, but she's younger than me. I am best describe myself as a reseller to say I'm vintage, slightly used, but in good condition. So it's kind of one of those things. And when she finally said, "Hey, okay," after shedding a little bit of tears, she was like, "I do believe in you. I don't know why I'm like this, but I want you to succeed. I'm just scared." And I'm like, "You don't have to be scared. I'm not scared. If I was scared, then it'll be a different story." So it feels really good to get that off my shoulders of not having her kind of be hesitant towards it and have her be aboard, even
Yeah.
though I'm not asking her for help. I would like it, like just to take simple pictures could go a long way, but it's on me and it's what I want to do for us and for myself and just have more time being at home. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
pretty
congrats.
much in short of how I see things and doing things. And on a personal life, there's more than just reselling, it also involves others.
Yeah, well, congratulations, on going full time, being a full time reseller. And I was watching one of your recent live streams with Johnny Cajun Roots Reseller recently,
Mm.
and you talked a little bit and said that your wife is a nurse. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's a
So,
nurse.
so what kind of do you guys have like a schedule now where you can see each other and spend more time together? Because I know when you guys are both working two full time jobs, it's
Yeah.
like sometimes your schedules don't exactly align and overlap evenly. So it's like
Yeah.
maybe she would be off certain days of the week, and then as soon as she was off from work, maybe you were like working half of those days. You know what I mean?
There in the beginning when she started nursing and I was doing not so much full-time jobs, it's just I couldn't hold on to a job because I would get into it with management. And I think that just falls back on being in the military and some things I experienced that I have trouble trusting people above me when I know things aren't right because I was management level. So her being full-time and me doing the things I was doing at the time legally, it was just for a moment, probably months, that we didn't see each other except for maybe one day. And then when I started working at the Wynn Casino, I was working graves, she was working graves, but her hours are 12 shifts or 12-hour shifts. So when she gets home, I've always encouraged her to get her rest. She works hard, she deserves it. I don't want her stressing, which in the nursing field and medical field is a lot different than say an entry level job. Still, both are important to the people who are doing them. But for her, I've always put her first. And when I started thrifting and reselling and trying to manage and the job on top of that, along with being married, was more of sacrificing time to say, hey, I can't spend time with you as much as I want to when it's the only one day out of the week because I want to do this and I want to do it for us. And it's going to catch up in a good way for us to get to this point to where we're at now to say, hey, I don't need to work for another job. You could keep your job. And what I want to do is work towards hopefully one day getting to where she doesn't have to work either and she gets to do whatever she wants. So
Yeah.
those
Well, that would
goals,
be
reaching other goals.
That would be nice, but it's
It's
as
hard.
the kids say, there's levels to this, bro.
Yeah.
So it'll happen when it happens. It may not happen overnight. Like, how long did it take you, kind of hustling, doing it as a side hustle, doing it part time, to both you and your wife felt comfortable of going full time as resellers? Like, how long where you got to that point, and like, what were some mile markers that you guys had to hit for you could sit down as a couple and say, okay, I'm going to go full time now. Like, we're above board, we're good.
So that's a really good question, and it's like a seesaw. So pre-COVID, before everything shut down, I was averaging around $7,500 every so-called 90 days, right? I felt like that was good, and that was just me working maybe 10 hours out of the week from thrifting, taking photos, and listing that I used out of the week to get me to make that much. So for about a year, I was doing that, and I was telling my wife like, "Hey, I've reached what you told me I should be getting so I could do this full time." She said, "No, it's not enough. I want $1 million." And I'm like, "Come on, you're crazy. You're telling me I'm never gonna be able to do this." And it kind of discouraged me, but in a way it didn't, because I was making good money, not work and working less than a part-time job or a part-timer does, working a full-time job. So with that, I just, when she kind of said, "No, it's not enough," and she was joking, but and then the COVID hit, I was like, let me slow down on listing, because I anticipated all the returns, because people are going to go into panic mode, can't get more money because they're probably getting fired or let go. So I anticipated saying, hey, the only way somebody's going to get their money back if they bought something is to return it. So fortunately, I did, and it worked out because those returns started coming in. And some of private message me would say, hey, this is really what happened. I lost my job. I need the money. I hope you understand. Other people were just saying it wasn't what I ordered. It's like, fine, it doesn't matter. I'm usually 100% on returns, no
Yeah.
questions asked. But I do private message those customers and say, the only way you get a refund is that you got to return a request on your end. And once I get it and it's back in the condition I receive it, I'll give you a refund. I don't say if there's anything wrong with it, we'll go from there. I just wait till I get it and not have that kind of pressure on them as well. And what you're going to find out when you get it. So when it came to doing that and slowing down, of course, I wasn't making as much. I was still making sales on eBay, but I was just being more cautious of other people to what they could afford to not afford, and what I could do was afford not to resell as much. So when everything opened back up, I then started picking up, and then things started happening at work, and it started making me look at things different. And I kept telling myself, and it would be on my shoulders and chest, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel anxious in a bad way? Why do I not like this? Why am I dealing with people when I could be doing something else? And the light bulb went on and the boots came on, put my foot down. And I said, hey, babe, this is what's going on at work. She said, fine, put in 2 weeks notice, put in 2 weeks notice, called off on a Sunday. My days off at the time were Monday, Tuesday. When I went back on Wednesday, my coworkers were looking at me like, what are you doing here? I thought you were going to call off for the rest of the 2 weeks. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So they were kind of encouraging me to call off. And I asked them straight up, why are you trying to get me to call off when I'm here to help and we're short anyways on work? Like, I want to do the time right. A couple of hours went in. I was kind of getting screwed over on the shift where I wasn't being replaced where I was supposed to. That kind of set me off. During my lunchtime, called my manager and said, hey, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this no more. Went home and told my wife. So I'm not making as much as I was before. And this is where I said it's a seesaw, but I'm getting to where I need to go and show myself that I could make sales. And I am. I'm nowhere near where I'm close to, but I'm in the right path, and I feel like I'm doing good because I'm getting sales consistently, whether they're big or small. It's adding up, and it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you ship out enough packages, sooner or later everyone's gonna have to deal with returns. I shipped out a
Mm.
package the other day, and the package was brand new in the shrink wrap when I shipped it out, and the customer got it, and they were saying, "Hey, the item is damaged, and I want to return, or I wanted to get a refund, or whatever." So to me, in my brain, I'm looking at it. I'm here for the long haul, the long run. So instead of me trying to fight and argue with the customer about the issue, I told him to just go ahead and return it, because you start getting some negative feedbacks or something like that that
Yeah.
piles up in your account, you might lose more money potentially in the long run from having a negative feedback on your account as opposed to just saying, hey, you know what? It's cool. We're good.
Yeah.
I have a 60-day window for returns. If you don't like the item, just return it. No, like you said earlier, no questions asked. We'll give you a refund. I'm not here trying to be one of those, undercover companies, fly by night companies that's
Yeah.
here to take your money and run. Like, I'm trying
Yeah.
to be here for the long term and grow and expand. And if you start getting negative feedback or dings, or you have customers that don't want to come back and don't want to be repeat customers, how are you going to grow? So we're live, Sonny. Let me say hello here to a few people in the chat to come by to hang out with us today. I wanted to say hey to LKO Graphics. Keith is in the house. He says hello, everybody. Landshark Picker is here. He says, Sonny.
Hey, Glenn.
I wanted to say he's LKO Graphics says congratulations on going full time.
Thank you.
The Jarhead Entrepreneur is here. He says, what's good, buddy? Thanks for coming by and hanging out with us today.
Thank
The
you for your
Selling
service.
Sniper says, hey, Jeff, and everybody. Hello, Sonny. And we have Twin Pillars is here. Says, Viva Las Vegas. So if you guys have questions for our
Las
guests,
Vegas. Yeah.
go ahead and drop it in the chat. So we have a question here. It says, Sonny, how does it feel to be free from your 9 to 5 and not be trading your time for a fixed amount of money? Personally, I love it.
Money is always important to get to where you have to go in the world that we live in, unless you're just trying to live off the grid, kind of, sort of. And talking to my wife about this, and for me, my wife is very important for her to just be comfortable and not have to worry about things. And it's so much more valuable having that feeling that now she's like giving me the thumbs up. And regardless if it was a green light, I'm colorblind, so I wouldn't see the green light anyways. So I'm gonna have to take her word for it. And the 9 to 5, I knew I wasn't gonna try to work the same hours that I worked at work. I told my wife this and been talking to her about it for years, and friends who would ask me about it. I would say, look, from 9 to 5 is not really a 9 to 5 job. You're getting ready about an hour and a half before that. And then by the time you gear down and you're talking to friends or coworkers after work, driving home, getting set up, getting cleaned up, you're still working in a way before you could actually do something on your own. So you're kind of wasting like around 10 to 12 hours. And I said, when I get home and I'm doing this full time, even on my days off, I would treat it like a full-time reseller. On my days off, I would get up like at 7 in the morning, give me some cup of coffee after, doing the grooming, make sure my dog's fed, walk him out, let him do his business, and then get straight to thrifting and reselling. Or actually listing from the day before. I'll draft stuff up either the day before and finish up on the following morning, and then just keep repeating the process and checking messages, supporting others on social media. So this full time is actually a lot more hours, but a lot better hours because I'm not having to deal with people face to face like I did at the job that I was at.
Yeah, man. Well, but I'm just going to try to say, Sonny, is that you had to work for a while. How long did it take you? Were you kind of doing it, working it part time? Because you have to build up your inventory to a certain level to where it's scalable. Because, like, let's say if you have this item and you sold this item for $20, now you no longer have this $20 item in your possession. So you're having to go out and hunt for merchandise to kind of build up your store to a certain level. So that way, like you said earlier, you're talking about having a certain number of sales in a 90-day sales rank, and you're saying this is how many sales I did in 90 days, and you're able to kind of grow and build your store up to that point. So how long did it take you to do that, and what would be like maybe 2 or 3 pieces of advice you could give to somebody if they're watching it and they're like, hey, I'm part-time right now, I would like to be full-time in the future? How can they go about doing that? Because it's really important for you and your wife to be on the same page. Because if she was like, no, I don't think you're ready for that, you couldn't just be like, hey, peace out, I quit my job, I'm just going to stay home and post stuff on eBay. Like, it would have caused problems in your house, right?
I could have just said, hey, I don't want to listen to you, and just did full time. But I just didn't want that on my shoulders. And also with my wife and many other relationships, whether it's your wife, husband, it's, I don't want to hear I told you so. And also I don't want to fail somebody more than what I don't want to fail myself. So when it came to the point of me reselling, I knew within the first 4 days of me picking up my first item for 69 cents, getting around $19 after taxes on PayPal at the time, using maybe $5 more on top of that, going to Goodwill, getting hooked up by a complete stranger, worker at Goodwill, who hooked me up with these little trinkets that opened up. One had some a gel perfume in it, like a gel paste. I've never seen that before, and that told me even more that it was rare. That one trinket sold for around $475 in less than 5 minutes of me hitting list. And I had got that for about $2. And I still had a little over a dozen more trinkets that sold for anywhere from $75 up to $300. So the first 4 days, all those trinkets sold fast. And I said, I could do this. That got me excited. And from then on, I would just find things. It's not because it's me, it's not because I'm going out, it's because I put in the time like many other people do just to give in some effort. There's going to be days where I would say I found that I was in a bad habit of buying stuff and I shouldn't have. But now that I've been doing this since 2016, I've learned not to do that. And when it comes to the amount of items people want to get to say, I've sold 90, some people could sell 2 items and make just as much as people with 90. So I was talking to Mike, um, one of the resellers on the phone. He actually called me about a few hours after talking to Johnny on his live channel. And he was saying if he could give me any help, he would, just to ask. And he does have my personal cell phone. So he was telling me, giving me some advice. And he had said something that struck me very hard because until then I was thinking the same thing. The more items I get, the more I could sell. But along with that, you're looking at items. We have so much items because we could get it for a good cost and know that the potential is there for it from what we experienced to sell for more than what we spent on. It's all about profits. But Mike said, if I could always just have one item and it sells and get a zero and still make the money that he's making, that's the dream goal. It's a very optimistic to think that way, but the reason why we get so much is because we get it for a good price and know the potential is there more than likely to get it. And it becomes easier when you source for stuff. I've just never sourced through, say, an auction, either in person or online auction. But now that I'm a full-time reseller, I'm opening up towards these things that I didn't do before because I can't afford not to. Before, I could afford just to buy what I wanted when I wanted because I was making like $4,000 every month from the job that I had. And that's my goal, is to make $4,000 in sales, so that way the profits are more than likely more than enough. And that's just a stepping stone for me to just grow even more.
Okay, cool. We have a bunch of people that stopped by in the chat. I want to say hello to Anytime Picker is in the chat. Wanted to say hello to the Selling Sniper. Zombie
Hey, Zombie
Bargain
Bargains.
Hunter is here. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Robert is. Zombie Bargain Hunter. He says, are you going to the reseller get together in October? They're having a big, I think it's reseller mix coming up in Las Vegas. Are you going to go to the event because you live nearby, or what is your
I
thought?
definitely am. I mean, I don't have a job that can tell me I can't. So
Oh,
now, yeah,
I,
there's a lot of stuff with being a full-time reseller that I wasn't aware of, and being out of YouTube making videos. I would support the people that I was familiar with because they're automatically getting alerts on my phone, and I'll check them on my breaks and at lunchtime. But I see now that I'm full-time and able to spend my time wisely, whether it's just to relax and spend time with my wife and so on. And especially, of course, thrifting, reselling, listing, doing the whole shebang there. There's a lot of things I missed out on and a lot of new names. And it's just great to have this community come in and just support you, support a complete stranger, which is what I am, and then be familiar with some of the faces on here, which Harry is one that I've been thinking about lately because I found a Coleman stove that I got very excited about. It's a 413G and I got it for 20 bucks, and they could be either, I could probably get 40 bucks or up to 100 bucks for it. But part of earlier was saying opening up to other avenues of reselling, not just eBay. OfferUp is one of them, and Facebook Marketplace, where I could find items and not have to just depend on eBay, because again, I can't afford not to be opening up to things that could help me big times and be much easier.
yeah, Harry Humstone was my guest. I had one yesterday, so wanted to give a shout out to Harry Humstone. I always run into Harry Humstone in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Sal's HQ is here in the chat. Zombie Bargain Hunter, the Selling Sniper, says, I just subbed to you, Zombie Bargain Hunter. Yeah, definitely. You got to support each other in the community. So if you haven't got a chance to check out Robert Zombie Bargain Hunter, you should go by and check him out. And
I definitely
let's
will.
see, we have El Vitero Loco says, what's good, Sonny? Greetings from Florida. And so I think I'm caught up with the chat. So anybody else has questions for our guests, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Yeah, I think if you're going to be attending the meetup in Vegas, you have to get your ticket online. It's like $300. for the tickets. So I'm just letting you know in case you didn't know
Yeah,
about it.
I'll
And
definitely look at it.
Harry says Zombie is the king of plush, and he says Rivera from Hawaii. Anytown Picker says Sunny, or Las Vegas casinos back to regular hours.
Yeah, it's regular hours, and it's not just regular hours anymore. It's a lot more people, which is good for the community, not just casinos. It's way more people than before. Even when it wasn't COVID or anything that came about it, it's huge numbers that are coming in. They are definitely making some money. Aloha
Okay,
Rivera. I was out in Schofield, Hawaii for about 2006 to 2011 was when I got out, but I stayed in Oahu until 2015. So I moved here to Vegas.
okay, cool. And I wanted to say hello to Health and Money is in the chat. So talk a little bit about what your life was before you became a reseller, because we briefly touched on earlier that you were in the military for a while. So do you mind talking a little bit about that? Do you have? Can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was like? Like what branch of the military were you in, and what was like your job there? How long were you in?
So I got in 1999. Then I ended up getting out in 2002. I went back in 2004 because I just didn't make rank. I wanted to make sergeant, and that was one of my big goals to make sergeant. So when I got out, it stuck to me to want to go back in and do it. So I did. Then I ended up making up E6. Then I ended up that's a staff sergeant. I ended up saying, hey, you know what? After my second tour to Iraq, I didn't feel that in my chest that I was going to make another tour. So talked to my wife over the internet. She said, hey, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. She was like, go to digital media since you know how to draw. Had no clue what digital media was, but ended up getting out and doing that. And the experiences I had are amazing. Not everybody that I came across was amazing, but it was an amazing experience to know that the things that I was doing were helping me figure out what I wanted to do in life. Not until I met my wife back in like 2007 was when I realized I had no goals. The military to me was just a job. It was just fun. It was just getting drunk on the weekends. It was just partying. I went everywhere from Louisiana throughout the states, Korea, Kuwait, just one naturally that you go to Iraq twice, but kind of been all over for a lot of tours, a lot of missions, a lot of taskings for the company, and had a lot of certificates. But towards the end, it just became a place where I didn't see myself fit in it anymore. It wasn't that nothing's bad about it. It just wasn't for me the same way with this past job. You kind of grow out of things and you want to get outside of this balloon that's suffocating you and open up to things that you're like, what else can I do?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, I was too big. According to your height, you have to meet a certain height and weight metric in order to get in the military. So I never fit the metric. But my brother and sister, both of them were in the military. My sister was in the Coast Guard, and my brother was in the Navy. And it can kind of be easy to coast a little bit because when you're in the military, like they give you, like if you're either living on barracks or they give you a fund every month to like cover your housing allowance. So it's very easy. Like once you hit E4, E5, E6, and you get to a certain rank, like you kind of live on autopilot. Like you get up, you go to work, you do your job, and then when you get off, a lot of your expenses, like if you live on base, like as far as your housing allowance, food allowance, clothing allowance, a lot of that stuff's already kind of filled in the blanks for you. So it's kind of easy to sit back and coast and to get into kind of a routine. So yeah, man, I'm glad that you had a good experience. So you got out of the military. So tell us a story about where you met your wife. Tell us about that. I'm just really curious about how that
So,
came to be. And when
uh,
you guys first met, was it like love at first sight, or did you guys
no,
have a? Tell
no,
us
it
the
wasn't.
story. This
No,
sounds
it
like it's a
wasn't.
good
Not at
story there.
all.
Go ahead.
I gotta say hi to Tiffany right now. Tiffany Abad. I've worked with her at the job that I just left, and she knows from experience firsthand, being that we started out as a basic security officer and moved up different positions. I actually just helped them move and want to make a video about something about the move that I didn't do before, and it's about taking donations and being where I came from. You don't take donations. You shut up and you work. So it was kind of weird taking these donations from friends and feeling like it was help for a second. And then at the time it's not, because I'm helping them move and remembering that I moved all this time throughout growing up, being in the military, station to station, and then getting out of the military, moving sucks. So I know how important it is, and especially for friends that I care about that are like family, you help them move. She's also from Hawaii, Rivera, who said he was up there in Hawaii. I believe Tiffany is from Waianae. I I think Waianae, not Nakule. I could be wrong, but yeah. I forgot about your question, but I wanted to make sure to bring that up because there's just some stuff I just gotta throw out there.
Well, the question was like, where did you meet your wife
Uh,
at? And when you
so
guys met, was it like love
yeah,
at
I
first sight, or
clearly
were you kind of like banging
no.
heads? Like, tell me how that
So
went.
my eyes were looking at her, she was looking away. So
Okay.
no mind for me. We ended up going to Kaneohe Bay. It's a marine base, and every year at the time they would have a concert of live groups, which is pretty cool. I got to see Pepper out there. If anybody knows Pepper, nice, really good band. So I ended up seeing them midway through their performance. One of my friends, James, was like, "Hey, do you want to go to club?" And I'm like, I'm kind of feeling the concert. You're driving, whatever. Let's go. I'm down. Let's be spontaneous. Just go with it. So we ended up going to the club. My wife, not my wife, Carla was there with all her girlfriends. I'm there. I'm probably already tipsy. We're drinking, and I can never take my eyes off of Carla. And I'm looking at her. And days later, our mutual friends, James and Aline, who are mutual friends with Carla and myself, of course, so they're like, "Hey, we're going to the beach." James like, "Let's go." It's like, "All right." So we go, and I'm like, "Who's there?" And he was like, "Oh, Carla's there." He would never say anybody else. He would just say, "Hey, here's Carla." So for about a month, they kept doing that. Then eventually we would go out to like the clubs. Carla would not want to deal with me, even though no matter how hard I tried, she said, "Hey, you're military. My friends have been treated bad by military. I don't want anything to do with them." I said, "Wow, this is a challenge, challenge accepted." So it took probably about 4 months to finally have a date with us just alone by
Yeah.
ourselves. And then that first date, that's where she said, "Look, pull over." I'm like, "Oh, am I going to get lucky? What's going on here? Pull over." So we pull over. It's raining like crazy. And she just looks at me and says, "Look," turns on the radio. She said, "I'm going to be a nurse. This is what I want to do. Nobody's going to stop me." So she already knew right there and then that if she was going to be involved with me, that I needed to know that she was serious.
Yeah.
So right there and then, from what I said earlier, because of my wife was one of the things when I met her, I realized I didn't have any goals. She had goals, and it made me open up. Like I need to get my crap together if I'm going to be with her. And I thought, how good of that is to have a person like that to have goals and not just be like the kind of people I was with before, who were just kind of doing the same thing. You're not really going anywhere. You're doing things together, but it wasn't something that could help you for your future. And that's what I saw in her was my future.
Right. So it wasn't exactly love at first sight.
No.
You kind of had to put your salesman hat on and kind of work some magic, right? But so since you guys been together, everything's been worked out since, right?
Oh, it's been great. But on top of that, so when we first met in a way, like, "Hi, this is my friend so and so," I would text her, and not until about 2 years ago, I would say, "Don't you remember kissing me?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, on our first date we met at the club, we kissed." So for years, I would keep bringing up the story every time I saw her. Even after we were married, people would ask, "How did you get to know each other?" And I was like, "She kissed me on the first day," and she was like, "No." Completely against it. She was like, "I don't remember it." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you're drunk." She was like, "Yeah, I did get drunk." It's like, "Yeah, you kissed me." And
Uh,
not until 2 years ago, I said, "Well, I've been saying you kissed me because what I wanted to do was plant seeds in your head was to make you think about kissing me." So it
yeah.
never happened, but our relationship was based off the lies and it
Well, no,
worked out.
bro, you're a salesman at heart, and it worked out for you. So you've been selling stuff on eBay. You kind of
Yeah.
worked your way, worked your magic, and you saw, I think it's funny that you saw this girl and you couldn't take your eyes off of her, and then from that point on, even though she kept giving you like pushback,
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, you're in the military, this isn't going to work out." You were just like, "Oh, this is a challenge." So you're like, "Oh, I see you. I'm ready for this." So you
I
weren't just
was.
like,
It was.
"Oh, I'm just gonna." Yeah,
It's
you weren't
funny
like,
when I.
right.
It's funny when I tell the story.
You were just like, "Oh, forget this." You're just like, "Oh, now." He's like, "I'm just gonna have to stretch before I go into this attack mode here, right?"
Yeah.
So you went all out, full guns a blazing, bro. So let me say hello to a few people in the chat. We have Sal's HQ is here. I wanted to say hey to the Cap Guy is here. Hey, Cap Guy. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a good weekend. The selling sniper says, I like this story. And I wanted to say hello to a few people in the chat I missed. Misty is here, says, yes, I do accept donations. I'm trying to avoid taking too much of what I can get. LA Ventura Loco says, tell us, please. I wanted to say hello to Tiffany is in the chat, says, I can't pronounce that.
YNI.
Wabi?
YNI.
And Misty says, hey, I've been selling for a month on eBay and Poshmark. Just learned about thrift shops by the LB on Blue Diamond. Do you think it's a good place to find inventory, or is there other ways to get inventory?
Let me see. Can you put that back up?
Right there. There we go.
I don't know what the exact name of that one is, but the thing is, when it comes to sourcing anywhere, you just have to look, because sometimes, and especially here lately in Las Vegas, there's a lot of items that are priced up. They're not crazy prices, but they're more of people that are actually collecting them for themselves to use, and for resellers, it's getting a little tighter. And when I started running out of shoes to find, I ended up going towards the jeans, and I told this story as well all the time, that where other people aren't looking or you're not looking, you need to. And there's still stuff that I've heard in the past that I haven't done, like the Google Lens. Had a message on TikTok today saying, hey, because I asked about this or an Adidas sweater, and I didn't know what it was, and somebody in the messages said, hey, have you used Google Lens? And immediately I just opened my Google app, which is what I had on my phone, scanned it. Within a second, it showed I was scanning everything on my counter and seeing what everything was worth. And it's just like, wow. So I would say just go in there and check. And if there's some good stuff in there, keep it to yourself, but private message me about it.
Yeah, Misty, there's a whole multitude of ways that you can get inventory. You could go to yard sales, estate sales. They have auctions, thrift stores. I believe it or not, I shop at pawn shops. You could do retail arbitrage, where people go to like look for items in the clearance section at Walmart and Target, and you'll find an item that, let's say, was $20 and now it's marked down to $5. And so the thing that you want to do is just take your eBay app and then scan the barcodes and be looking at items. And then on that item, you want to go to the sold section, and then it'll show you how many of this particular item. It'll show you what the item's listed for, and it'll show you how many of them sold in the last 90 days. So, earlier we were talking a little bit about sell-through rate as opposed to just listing everything you put your hands on. So that way you can get an idea of how many of them are listed and how many of them are sold. But there's literally merchandise everywhere. The whole thing is you just have to get it for the right price, unless so that way you can make a profit. The cap guy says, go to the Dollar Tree. Yeah, I go to the Dollar Tree as well. You can find items there at the Dollar Tree. Like I said, retail arbitrage. I've been doing a lot of online arbitrage where you buy items in bulk, and when you're getting stuff in bulk and you're ordering 100 or 500 items at a time, you can get it at a cheaper price where you're paying 40-50 cents an item, and then order 500 or 1,000 of them at a time. The selling sniper is saying bin stores, the Goodwill bins, or then they have Amazon bins where people have custom returns, and you could go to the bin stores, liquidation bins. There's a whole multitude of ways that you can get stuff, merchandise to resell. I mean, it's literally everywhere. You just have to get it for the right price. Like I said, I get items at pawn shops, yard sales, estate sales, thrift stores. Just there's merchandise everywhere. You just got to get it for basically pennies on the dollar, so there's enough margin there. So, Sonny, tell me a little bit about how did you first get into reselling? Like, did you have a friend or family member? Were you watching YouTube videos? Like, how did you first get into reselling?
The more questions you ask, I realize this evolves around my wife, because how it started, I didn't have a job, like I said at first, moving here to Vegas. We just ended up coming on vacation and going back to Hawaii from Vegas. That on the plane, my wife was like, hey, do you want to move? And I was like, where to? She was like, let's come to Vegas. 4 days later, I came to Vegas, no job, no nothing. So when she came over, we're driving around, and she was already now working at one of the hospitals here. And she said, hey, I have this coworker that does reselling. And at the time, I had a clothing line, a clothing brand that we started out in Las Vegas. We're selling at an event called the Art and Flea in Oahu. It's there in Waikiki. And every third Thursday, for some reason, that's the only time I was scheduled. So we started there, ended up coming here, and my wife was saying, hey, my coworker sells stuff on eBay. And I was like, I buy stuff on eBay. How do you sell stuff? She was like, well, I don't know. She just does it. And I was like, well, what kind of stuff she sell? She was like, I don't know. She just gets it at Goodwill. Ask what's Goodwill. Where I come from is a very small town, Charlotte, Texas, south of San Antonio, and there's no thrift stores. There's just hand-me-downs, and the hand-me-downs you get are probably already been handed down about 5 times, where it's like missing legs, missing zippers, missing all kinds of stuff. So very not poor community, but at the time it was like dirt roads, no pavement, penny candies, no taxes. And again, I'm vintage. So when my wife was talking about Goodwill Savers, there happened to be one right next to me. That's when we went in and I found a little troll that sold for 69 cents, turned it into $19. Took a few more dollars, bought the trinkets, made a couple of thousand within the first 4 days. And that's how it started.
So you sold this troll, you made a couple thousand within the first little bit of reselling, and
Yeah.
you've been hooked on it ever since, huh?
Yeah. And I've only one time found an item. The highest item I've sold was a hat that I got for $14. This was when I had the same job that I just left. I had the easiest day. It was my Friday. I was working in a little kiosk where I just checked trucks coming in, and I could watch stuff on my phone, even though they say don't watch videos. I was watching YouTube, most likely thrifting videos, and something in my gut said, "Hey, there's something at the Goodwill store down the road."
Yeah.
So when my supervisor at the time called on the radio, if anybody wants any EOs, early outs, I was already dialing on the phone because it was around that time. Hurried up
Yeah.
and clocked out, drove down to Goodwill, which is like half a mile down from the Wynn Casino. First thing I see is this hat, and I got a video about it on YouTube. That's a while back. So it was a Herbert Johnson hat that I got for $14, and it was the hat that inspired the Indiana Jones hat. And this was unmolded, didn't have the casing to it, but it was brand new, pristine condition. Sold for $475. That's probably
Wow.
the biggest item at the time that I got. And it was funny because my supervisor, when I come back on my Monday, said, "Hey, really? You called off on a Friday at the easiest spot?" And I was like, showed him on my phone. I was like, "I made that in 2 hours." He's like, "Oh, that's like your paycheck for the week." Then after
Right.
that, I ended up finding uh, Buffett Crampton clarinet, and it's pretty cool when you come across stuff because you start to learn about history as well. Saw a serial number, couldn't find it online, and the reason for it, after about a month of finally getting it out of myself to not be scared to go get it appraised, went to a music store. Off the bat, the lady says, "Hey, what you have here is rare, and here's why. I'm going to bring the guy that knows everything about it. I just know enough to know it's rare, but as is, you could sell it for $400. I think it was $400. But if you invest $400, it could be up to, or actually, as is was going to be $1,300. $1,300. She was like, if you invest 400, we'll clean it up and we'll put a 1 year warranty on it. So if you sell it, it carries over. But with the $400, if you have us fix it with that warranty, it'll go up to $3,500. I wish now that I know better, I would have invested the 400. But at the time, that is literally what all I had was $400, and it sold within like 3 hours for $1,300. I listed it at $1,350. I got an offer on it for $1,300, and they paid $50 for shipping. So it was one of my biggest scores. But I've come across items $100, couple $100. They sell pretty fast.
Yeah, awesome. I wanted to say hello to East Coast Flippers in the chat. So, hey, East
You've been
Coast
in for a
Flippers, you're
minute.
still with us. Thanks for coming by and hanging out with us today. I'm not trying to miss you guys in the chat. It's just hard to navigate that and talk with our guests and all that. I wanted to say hey to Miss Taffy. She says hey everybody, and
Hello.
LKL Graphics Heath is in the chat. Anytime Picker says Dollar Tree needs more employees. Selling Sniper is here, and Sal's HQ and the Cap Guy and Harry Humstone, and anybody else in the chat that I missed today. So, Sonny, talk to us a little bit about your YouTube channel. What kind of inspired you to start your YouTube channel, and what kind of content do you make, bro? Because I think when I checked it last, you're at like 786 or something. So you're
I
almost at
think so.
800 subscribers.
Yeah, with being on Johnny's channel, I was at I think I've gained around 25 people since then. And to me, it's just astonishing to have people come in. It is not so much that I look at these numbers, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, as followers. I just see it as opportunities for me to try to keep up with and learn from to help me do what I want to do my way with the help from others, and I hope that I do the same thing in return. And that's what I try to do in my videos. And with the way I think and been through, I think that's why, like, this talk with you right now is probably one of the clearest mindsets that I've had and able to express things. Other times I'm really hard on myself and I get jumbled up in words and thoughts and I get lost within them. And I think it shows in my YouTube videos. And before this last video, 2 videos ago, I was I sent the wrong video. I uploaded one that I didn't edit. I just had a few cuts. And after watching it and getting the support that got on it kind of right away, made me open up to saying, hey, it's okay to be you. You don't have to make these videos perfect. If you mess up, other people could see it and they could probably feel better about themselves in a good way to say, hey, I don't have to be perfect. And if these videos are long or if they're short, it's okay because Sunny's bad and I could be better if that's how they think.
Um, yeah, for sure. So, I was watching one of your videos recently. You're talking about how you went full time as a reseller. What other type of content do you like to make? Do you do sourcing videos? Do you show people what sold videos on your channel? What else do
I,
you kind of content you usually make?
I I believe I'm better at giving information of why and how I do things. I've been making a couple of videos lately on TikTok that has been opening my eyes up more to wanting to be more of kind of like an educator and not so much of like, hey, this is what I sold, and not, hey, this is what I sold, and want to share informations with it, not just I got to get a penny for it. I'm going to share my bad stuff, which I believe everybody should, so that way it could teach us what not to do as well, or what to look towards, and share your mistakes. And a lot of people do, and I feel like there's more mistakes out there and issues that resellers come across, and it's just good to be genuine and honest about things as we are being a reseller in our descriptions. You don't want to overhype stuff because it'll bite you in the butt. And I think a lot of us learn more of those mistakes in the beginning because we just don't know any better and we're excited and we want to be just like other people rather than just want to do the right thing for the customer and you as a reseller.
Okay, cool. Now, Sonny, since you've been reselling for a while, I think you said 2016, right? You've
Yeah.
been reselling since then. So, well, so you've got at least 5 years of experience reselling. What will be your top 3 tips to help somebody if they're a new reseller, or maybe they're just getting started, or maybe they're doing it part time, maybe they're making $1,000, $2,000 a month, and they want to make a full time income? What would be like your top 3 tips or piece of advice that you would have for someone to help them with their reselling business?
When it comes to income, you want to look at what you owe every month. We all have bills of one way or another. And you want to know what your goal is not just to pay bills. What's beyond the bills? What do you want for yourself to show for? And that's a lot of things what I think about every day, just subconsciously. How can I show that I'm doing something that's good and not just, hey, I sold an item but I'm nowhere near getting towards my goals? So as you're collecting stuff and you're selling, don't just be stuck on one thing. Learn how to do things. Measuring tape, once you could afford to get enough money, invest in a thermal printer. That's probably one of the things I should have got after the first 4 days of me reselling, because it's so much better that I don't have to go waste ink money, paper. I don't have to worry about the printer uploading or turning on or not connecting to the Wi-Fi. When a thermal printer, I haven't had any issues like that. And it just prints right away. It saves me a lot of time and a lot of not having to buy paper when a 500 label package is like maybe $9. I don't remember because I still have about 40 more labels since I've gotten it. And other than just trying to finance your money, I know you asked for 3, but trying to finance your money is one of the budget your money. Make sure you save. Even when other people are going out, you need to sacrifice for the right reasons and not sacrifice something and say, hey, I'm going to go out when I know I shouldn't, when I should hold on to this money, because first, you never know if you're going to get a return request. I've seen a lot of people when I first started jump into eBay, they would go get that money on PayPal, go spend it, and then all of a sudden they're opening up on social media saying, I don't know what to do because I don't have money in my bank account to give them a refund. They got to try to figure out how to sell something and drop prices to get the money that they need for that return request. So save for returns, always have extra cash for yourself, and then also have a goal of what you want to do with that money. and just spend wisely. It all comes down to stretching out every dollar. And up here in the comments earlier, not the flipping account, I'm trying to look on there, but they talked about the bins. And that's one thing that I've been doing recently and thinking about. Why do I want to go to bins? For me, is because I could stretch out every cent, not necessarily dollar, to buy an item. I just bought some $36.72 worth of items when a couple of those items could pay for everything and then some. When if I go to Goodwill for a t-shirt, I'm paying anywhere from like $3 to $5, when there I'm probably paying, depending on how much I buy, anywhere from like 5 to 50 cents. The more you buy at the bins, trying to do everything you do at thrift stores, just find a potential for items to sell for the max amount that you can. And also know that the price that you start at isn't always where you finish at. You tend to drop prices, and just don't do that on a regular too right away. So tips could go on, but just
Yeah.
be wise as best as you can and have a go and save.
Yeah, just simple stuff. Just live below your means, and if you can, if you can get out of debt and pay off, student loans or credit card bills, or get your car paid off, and you have lower expenses, that's definitely going to help you out as well. And then just being able to reinvest your capital back into your business to grow it, because it's not going to grow if you don't, reinvest capital. Like you said, you can't go out and take your money and go buy a new watch or going on a vacation just because the money's sitting there in that account. You have a good chunk of it that you have to put away for emergencies and taxes and all that, but then you have some you have to reinvest back into your business as well for it to grow. So let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I wanted to say hey to Nakoma Fines is here in the chat. The Flippin' Accountant is here. I hope you're doing well, Justin. I wanted to say hey to Dixon's Pixons is in the chat, and the Thrifty CQ, man, he's been hustling. He just put out a video recently, so I wanted to say hey to the Thrifty CQ. Miss Taffy is here. El Patinro Loco says, thank you guys. Great podcast. Hey, thank you for coming on and hanging out with us today. I usually try to go live at least like 3 or 4 days a week, and we have new guests like this one every week. So, Sonny, we've had you on for 45 minutes now, almost an hour. Tell everybody where they can go by and check you out at on YouTube and Instagram, so they go by and check you out.
Las Vegas Thrifts on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay. Now, one more question I got to ask you before we let you go. What is some major goals that you have for yourself over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Because you're full time now, so you're self-employed. What are some major goals that you have for yourself over the next couple of years? Because we touched on having goals earlier.
Yeah, one of my biggest goals from the beginning is to be able to hire somebody, or at least 2 people. That'll make a huge difference in what I could do in resourcing, teaching people what I'm doing. Hopefully they stick around for several years, so that way they could do it as well. And then just get other people that kind of have the same mindset, that want to learn, make some money on it, on top of what they're doing, and not be so much minimum wage, but try to figure out an understanding on how to pay your workers as a reseller. And just a little bit more into that, I was thinking about, and had the opportunity, somebody actually asked me if they could work with me. And I said, I know this doesn't sound like much, but how about I pay you $1 an item? All I need is photos from you. So it may take more than one photo for an item, usually does, but you think about like 100 items in one day, just taking photos. I provide the lighting, and there you are. That's all I need to do is pick up the items. But if I'm able to have a place of my own where they could link up, have a time for them to come in when they can, but just say, hey, if you only list 50 items today, you make $50, but give me a few days, depending on how the finances are coming in, to pay them. You can make a lot of money, and they could move up as long as they want. But I have to be in a place financially where it's worth their time and worth my time, not to be struggling back and forth, and stay focused on just doing things my way.
Yeah, awesome. So, hey guys, one of my goals is to help Las Vegas Thrifts hit 1,000 subscribers. He's almost at 800. So all the links to his YouTube and Instagram is down below. Go ahead and follow our guest. And I don't know if it's going to be this month or next month or by Christmas, but I would like to see you get to 1,000 subscribers. And as long as you're consistent, I got no doubt you're going to get there. So do you have any?
Jeff, I do want to say, like, thank you so much for asking me to come on. It really has been, the things that I say too, you kind of listen to yourself and you hear it and you hear the other person. And I feel like if I wasn't doing something good, I don't think you would have asked me. And it just feels good to be seeing and want to know what I'm doing, as well as me wanting to know what you're doing. And I appreciate what you're doing, not just for myself, but for other people. I've been trying to catch up on your videos from the recent one. Somebody out, I think California. Don't remember the names, horrible names, but it's just good to see what people like you are doing for others and just trying to make this community more full circle and being successful in what we do.
Yeah, I try to make these videos not just for me or not just for the guests, but I want the people in the audience to know, like, hey, you're not alone. There's other people in the same exact situation you are.
Yeah.
There's people out here that's out here in 100-degree heat at yard sales, coming home
It
empty-handed at
gets hot
thrift
over
stores.
here.
You have a flat tire. You're out in the pouring down rain. You're not alone. There's a whole community of people, of like-minded people that are here looking out for each other. But yeah, man, I just know I can see that you're on your grind, you're hustling, you're pushing, working on your eBay store, you're trying to take care of your wife and your family, you're trying to progress and have goals and your life in the future, and you're still making time to shoot YouTube videos. So
Yeah.
keep doing your thing. And like I said, bro, next time I have you on, you're going to be at 1,000 subscribers.
All
And I
right.
want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us today, and thank our guest, Las Vegas Thrift Sonny, for coming home with us today. So all his
Thank you,
links are in the
everybody.
description down below. Hey, before we let you go, give us any type of final words, any final words, any piece of advice, any saying, or anything you could leave us with.
Put family first. Make
Yeah.
sure you get enough rest and eat. And when you're listing stuff, make sure you list and have a dollar worth amount. I have the goal since I started full timing like 2 weeks ago, maybe. I told myself I want to list up to $300 worth of items. And I've been doing that since. And I've been averaging anywhere from $50 to $100 a day, not just because of the amount of stuff, but the quality and what the items actually are. And as long as you have a clear mindset of what you want to do and you're being real about things and not spending things to say, I hope I could get something out of this, rather than I know I picked something really good for a really good price and it's worth this much. So just don't overthink things, relax. Like I said, spend time for yourself too, just to relax. Because when you start reselling and you get into it, it's really fun, but then you could overwhelm yourself trying to manage family, you eating. And there's a lot of times where even I miss out on food and I'm like, why do I feel anxious and all hyped up when I'm like, I forgot to eat, and it's just the little things that you need to do. Take care of you, because if you can't take care of you, you can't take care of other people. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching.
All right, guys. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Go follow our guests. All the links are down below. I have a brand new guest for you guys coming on tomorrow at 4 o'clock. It's a mystery guest. We're going to be talking a little bit about Amazon. That's the hint for our guest. I'm not going to tell you who
I'll
it is,
definitely be
but
all over it because
yeah,
I
we're
need to
going to be
learn.
talking a little bit about learning about the Amazon game, and hopefully we'll have this guest on, and this is what he does for a full-time income, is reselling on Amazon. So that's all the hints I'm going to give you. Till then, you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you
Thank you,
later. Go
everybody.
follow our guest. All the links down below. Till then, you guys have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.